right? God is doing something. Well, one of the people that came down to our tent in D.C. said that she recognized a shift. She'd been up in D.C. for a long time. She recognized a shift that was undeniable in October of last year, when just as David called the nations together to worship in the Tabernacle of David, we took 50 state teams and planted 50 tents on the National Mall in D.C. for a weekend, just worship and prayer. We went out and did evangelism, but how many of you guys know that when you worship and you pray, the field is already plowed? Yeah. Evangelism is almost as simple. Yep. Because you've affected change in the atmosphere, and you've displaced things that have been hindering the gospel going forth and doing what it intended to do. All right? So she said there was a shift, undeniable, during that time. For the first time in our nation's history, every state came together in on the National Mall underneath a tent. And I've asked God, why a tent? Why can't we be in an air-conditioned building? Why can't we have nice, comfy chairs? And, why that? And I'm all for that, right? But there's something about a tent. And I think it's this. I think that being in a tent in the heat, the humidity, the rain, the snow, the wind, the people that just walk up and walk by and they take your communion, stuff because they're hungry and they're homeless and that's what they're going to eat, and they act like you don't see them. Just all these kind of weird things that happen. But being in a tent, in that tabernacle that David erected in his backyard, the only thing that drew people to that place was the presence of the Lord. Yeah. They didn't come in there to cool down. Yeah. They didn't come in there, to have a nice dinner. The only thing that drew them to that place was the presence of the Lord. And it was because of the ministry of worship and intercession that they had established in that place. And God said, I'm going to do it again. In Amos 9:11, as well as Acts 15, when James said, God's going to do it. He's going to raise up the tabernacle of David once again. And there is, I believe, two things. I believe there is a spirit of the tabernacle of David that is rising up in the earth. And you don't have to be in a tent to do it. It's in your heart. But I do believe that when God said, I'm going to raise up the tabernacle of David, I'm going to raise up a tent ministry unto the Lord, I kind of really believe he actually is going to do it in a tent. Mm-hmm. And that's just me. Maybe I'm crazy, but I know I am. And I'm going to bring it to a close just in a minute. But I was the Alabama State coordinator for this event called Awaken the Dawn in D.C. last year. And out of that, the Lord kind of spoke to me in some really crazy ways. He had a guy that I never met before that I kind of think is an angel. I'm really not sure if he's actually a man or a human. But because he said some things to me and just kind of acted towards me in a way as I never really kind of experienced before. And told me some things that I didn't even believe about myself. But when he said them, I just kind of came unglued. I'm like, how does that happen? I was like, no way, I don't believe that kind of stuff. But it's just kind of incredible. And one of the things that he said to me is, he said, Andy, he said, God kind of sees you like he did P.T. Barnum. I didn't have a clue who P.T. Barnum was. He's like, what? I said, no. He said, go look him up. Well, I found out that P.T. Barnum was the guy that helped establish Barnum and Bailey Circus. P.T. Barnum had a dream to entertain people, and it was a big dream. And people told him, you'll never be able to do it, you'll never be successful. And I don't know how many of you guys have ever been to Barnum and Bailey Circus, but it's pretty incredible. What God does in the natural is always a spiritual, dynamic going on as well. And I believe that just as God raised up a tent ministry to entertain the hearts of people for 100 years in this nation, that God is going to raise up another tent ministry to not only entertain, but captivate and dominate the very hearts of people all across this nation, simply because we gather together in a tent and we just worship the Lord and we cry out to the Lord, and that he does what he does. And whatever he asks us to do, it's easy because of what he's already done. And all we have to do is just worship, pray, just like David did, so simple. We do so many things and work so hard to accomplish so little. And I believe that one of the reasons that has been our testimony is because we've yet to tap into, as a city, as a state, as a nation, the call of God to rebuild the tabernacle of David, the tent of David, unto the salvation of Jew and Gentile, and the coming together of one new man, whether it's Jew and Gentile, whether it's black and white, whether it's Hispanic and Chinese. God has put his finger on the state of Alabama, unlike any other state in this nation. I truly believe that. Not just because it's my state, but I truly believe that. I love people in a bunch of other different states. And I even had talking to a lady on the phone just a couple of days ago in Mississippi. She's like, I'm coming to Alabama to hear from the Lord. I'm taking a weekend and I'm just going to go and get away in Alabama to hear from the Lord. I'm just like, you could do that in Mississippi, but I know what's going on. So you got to come to Alabama to get that. But I hear stuff like that all the time. And so I just want to encourage you guys. We're going to be doing some stuff with the tent of David around our state. We're going to be doing an event in Montgomery for 4 days, the end of September. Next year, we're going to take the tent. We're going to visit 10 cities around the state of Alabama that Dutch Sheets and Chuck Pierce identified as freedom outposts, leading up to a week of ministry in Montgomery for our 200-year anniversary as a state. I don't know how many of you guys know that, but next year, the state of Alabama turns 200 years, and I can't think of a better way to celebrate that than spending a week underneath a tent on our state's capital, just worshiping and praying, crying out to the Lord and loving on the Lord. Who knows what he's going to do? Who knows whose life is going to be changed just simply because somebody showed up? Just Wes and these guys, you guys have done it. You go out in the streets and you just set up and you just worship and you pray. And I'll never forget what Wes told me about the, can I share that? Just, these guys might already know, but I was just so moved that the couple, the same-sex couple that had a wedding right across from where y'all were doing the worship and prayer ministry night and day, and they just sat there just glued in. You have no idea. When we were in D.C., we had a transvestite that came, or transgender, well, I guess is the word, whatever, that came in the tent most every day, and they just sat there. And who knows? I'm not about to try to judge or criticize or even attempt to say why or why not these people are here. Yeah. I'm grateful that they're here. Yeah. All right? Like I said, God can do in an instant, in the presence of the Lord, that woman's heart can be changed just like that. Yeah. It's incredible. And so I'm thankful to be here, thankful to get to know you guys. I told AJ, I just believe that I kind of got on to him the other day. He said something about what you were doing. I said, I said, that's what we're doing. I said, I don't need my name in light. All I need is the relationship of brothers and sisters in the body of Christ that want to see God do something in our nation. Amen. And that believe that night and day worship and prayer are a key to that and are committed to it. So I'm not really trying to establish anything new. I'm just trying to give opportunities for what's already been taking place to just go to another level all across our state. And I believe that what's going on here in Sampson, that people in Huntsville need to know about it. And what's going on in Huntsville, we need to know about it. Yeah. And if we love our brothers and sisters, I believe that God is going to do something in our state where we love people in our state so much that we're going to want to go and we're going to want to go be a part of what's going on in Huntsville. It's not just about our little cities or about Dothan, like this young lady was sharing. It's incredible. The reason she said she's feeling just the presence of the Lord all over Dothan, the word says that the glory of the Lord is going to cover the earth like the waters cover the sea. We're beginning to experience that. The glory of the Lord is beginning to cover Dothan like the waters cover the sea, beginning to cover Sampson, beginning to cover Montgomery, beginning to cover Birmingham, beginning to cover our state, beginning to cover our nation. And I believe with all of my heart that the greatest days of not only the church in our nation, but the greatest days of the United States of America are ahead of us, not behind us. Come on. And I believe that one of the primary vehicles through which God is going to bring that to pass is through the worship and prayer ministry of our state. So, yeah, I could talk for forever, but I hope that something I've said has been meaningful. I would really love just to have AJ and them come back up. We have time.